After a night on the town, a good deed ends in bloodshed.
As he's doing the right thing, he opens that door of that bar, and death is waiting on the other side.
There wasn't much at all for us to work on, and a detective's worst nightmare is a whodunit.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda races to find a killer before he strikes again.
He said, I've already killed one person this week, and I won't mind killing another.
He's gonna shoot them, he's gonna shoot their family, he's gonna shoot their dog.
In order to catch him, Lieutenant Joe Kenda puts his reputation and his life on the line.
My men were not happy with me. They were angry. They believed I was making a huge mistake. The world is a dangerous place, and it's filled with dangerous people. And despite your plan to avoid meeting any of those people, you may meet one anyway. Don't worry about the bullet that has your name on it. Be worried about the one that says to whom it may concern.
My name is Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved almost 400 homicides. Every case is unique, but there's one thing that never changes. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories.
May 29th, 1996. On the north side of Colorado Springs, patrons of the Aaron Inn, a blue-collar watering hole, are unwinding from a long day of work.
It is just a local neighborhood bar, a local pub place where you would go and meet a couple of friends.
While most of the regulars come to the Aaron Inn to enjoy a late-night drink, 29-year-old Chris Devoy likes to unwind by working on his pool game.
Chris Devoy played pool at the Aaron Inn a lot. It was his hangout place.
Sitting across the room is Patricia Eck, Chris's girlfriend, and her co-worker, Courtney Smith. While Chris plays pool, they engage in a long and rowdy night of drinking.
They meet at the bar, they drink till about 12:30 or something like that, and then they leave the bar.
Patricia and her friend Courtney are too drunk to drive. They ask Chris to take them home in Courtney's car.
Christopher Paul Devoy was seated in the driver's seat. His girlfriend Pat was seated in the passenger seat, and her girlfriend was seated in the rear.
Getting ready to close the door, thinking everything's gonna be fine when all of a sudden somebody approaches them. They heard a shot. Saw Chris slump over.
Covered in blood, Patricia and Courtney flee the vehicle. The assailant takes off running and disappears into the night. The two women run screaming into the bar, begging for help. EMTs race to the scene. Across town, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is blowing off some steam at the firing range when he gets an urgent call.
The way the initial call comes in is nothing more than a shooting. No robbery was attempted. This person didn't demand money, didn't steal this car. So they're not exactly sure what this is, other than they have a seriously wounded victim. So we drive to the crime scene. When we get there, there's a car parked in front of the bar.
Gentlemen, bring me up to speed.
Okay, well, this is the car.
The two female witnesses that were outside the bar, and my people were in contact with all the patrons inside the bar.
As Kenda surveys the scene, EMTs load Chris Devoy's blood-soaked body into an ambulance. Detectives notify Chris's family of the situation. Their son is still alive, but his prognosis is grim.
It is a large gunshot wound to the neck. There is an enormous amount of blood.
I can't imagine what he went through to have that gun shot in his neck, and I just can't imagine.
All right, let's take a look.
Kenda orders his detectives to search the surrounding area.
The first step, of course, is trace evidence. Is it a semi-automatic weapon? Is there an ejected casing? We find no casing in the car or near the car.
The absence of a casing gives Kenda an important clue.
This weapon will not have an expended casing. The casing is contained within the gun. We're looking for a revolver.
With no weapon or bullet casings,
I'm Detective Kenda.
Kenda needs to interview the two eyewitnesses, Chris's girlfriend, Patricia Eck, and her pal, Courtney Smith.
You know, this is pretty traumatic, but I need to ask you a couple questions.
After taking a moment to gather herself, Courtney tells Kenda about the victim, Chris Devoy.
Christopher Paul Devoy, 29 years old. He is a resident of the area. He lives less than 2 minutes from the bar.
He just loved life, and he enjoyed everything.
Oh, you beat him to it.
He'd do anything for you. And he was father of 2, 4 and 7. Very proud of that.
He enjoyed things like horseback riding, motorcycle riding, dirt bikes, skiing. He was very happy-go-lucky. Wasn't a person that he got acquainted with that he didn't make friends with.
Chris may be a friendly, outgoing guy who grew up in the area, but as Kenda learns, his life was far from perfect.
He had gotten a divorce. He had ambitions to go back to school. He was unemployed at the time. He had been laid off.
And unlike girlfriend Patricia Eck and her pal Courtney Smith, Chris was completely sober at the time of the shooting.
You're gonna have to drive us home. Oh yeah? One too many shots?
They ask Christopher if he can drive them home in their car, and then he can get a ride back to the bar. He has no idea that's gonna happen. He's just in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong time.
Kenda presses Courtney for details about the shooter.
Did you see this guy? Could you give me a description?
Unfortunately, she didn't get a good look.
We ask her if there's anybody else with him. She says, I just saw that guy's waist, and I saw the big gun.
You did see the gun.
Tell me about the gun.
Anything you can think of would be helpful.
Well, it's big and it's shiny, and it has a round thing in the middle.
It's an incredibly vague description, but it confirms Kenda's theory about the possible murder weapon.
She's referring to a cylinder in a revolver.
We were looking for a larger caliber firearm, 357 plus, possibly 44, something along those lines.
This is a very powerful handgun, designed to cause grievous injury and death. What is going on here?
Kenda turns his attention to Chris's grief-stricken girlfriend, Patricia Eck.
I'm Detective Kenda. I know this is very traumatic, but I need to ask you a few questions.
She is very upset. She has blood spatter on her clothing, some of it on her face. We ask her, how long have you known Chris? Well, I've known him for a couple of years. We've dated in the past. We date off and on now.
Can you tell me what happened tonight?
From her position in the passenger seat, Patricia saw considerably more than Courtney.
She sees this male approach. He has a huge gun. He says, freeze.
Freeze!
And he is shot in the neck. He falls in her lap across the seat.
Patricia says she couldn't make out the face of the shooter, but one unusual feature did catch her eye.
Ponytail.
He did have a ponytail.
Yeah.
And that's very helpful. That's good. That's good.
He had a ponytail. 1996, ponytails on men are not common.
It is a very highly populated military community. There's not a lot of people in Car Springs that have really long hair.
The discussion of the ponytail triggers something in Patricia, and she offers Kenda a bit of information that could break the case wide open.
Then she pauses and says, oh my God, it's Brett Maverick.
And Brett, was Brett Maverick.
He was in the bar tonight?
Well, who is Brett Maverick? He's part Native American. And because of that, he wears his hair in a ponytail.
Patricia tells Kenda that Brett Maverick is a regular at the bar and was there that night. Kenda asks her on a scale of 1 to 10 how certain she is that Brett was the man who pulled the trigger. Patricia doesn't hesitate.
I'm a 9. Oh my God, it was Brett Maverick. She must have said that 10 times.
According to Patricia, it's not just Maverick's looks that implicate him.
She said that Chris had been teasing him about his ponytail.
Maybe you get your hair cut, learn a little something. Be damned if I'm gonna get beat by a girl.
Well, he said something to him, and Brett said a few things back.
Go ahead and make that shot. Say something else. Go ahead.
He had words with the victim, according to her. Now, these are words in a bar. Could this have evolved into a shooting? Absolutely. Here we go. Bar wars.
The following morning, detectives track down Brett Maverick and bring him to the station for questioning. He matches Patricia's description, right down to the long black ponytail.
What happened in the bar?
Maverick freely admits to having words with Devoy the night of the murder.
We were just playing pool, we were just being guys.
So he was making fun of you? Making fun of your ponytail, maybe?
It was just talk. I was laughing, so was he. Bar talk.
Making you a little bit angry or anything, you know?
Nah.
Was it serious? No.
He denied.
Kenda asks Brett Maverick to put his denial to the ultimate test.
Would you be willing to take a polygraph about your involvement in this?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't do this. I didn't hurt anybody. I certainly didn't hurt Chris.
Let's go.
But in the course of questioning Brett Maverick, Kenda makes a move that will shock his fellow detectives and cause them to question his judgment like never before.
My men were not happy with me.
Making a big mistake, Lieutenant.
They were frustrated and they were angry. The one thing I'm good at is making decisions, and I made a decision. He's not the guy.
In the early morning hours of May 29, 1996, Aaron Inn patron Chris Devoy was shot while sitting in the front seat of a car with his girlfriend Patricia Eck. While ER doctors fight to save the victim's life, Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his team of detectives have called a suspect in for questioning. Another regular at the Aaron Inn who had words with Chris Devoy earlier in the evening.
There's a guy by the name of Brett Maverick. He's at the bar, he doesn't have an alibi, so he looked really like the best suspect that we had at the time.
Brett Maverick denies having anything to do with the shooting.
Would you be willing to take a polygraph about your involvement in this?
Oh, yeah. I'll take a polygraph right now.
Let's go.
Raise your arms up.
But as Maverick is being hooked up to the machine, one of the detectives rushes in with urgent news.
Lieutenant Kenda, his lawyer's in the front lobby.
Would you hold off for a second?
While we're talking to him, a lawyer arrives in the police operations center lobby. He reports to the desk clerk that he has been employed by Brett Maverick's mother to be his attorney in this matter.
Kenda knows that Maverick's lawyer will likely put a stop to the polygraph.
Your mom sent a lawyer for you. You want to talk to him?
I don't need a lawyer. I can handle this my damn self.
Said absolutely not. I didn't ask her to call a lawyer, and I don't need one. I went downstairs and I explained to the attorney that his client had waived his right to counsel and didn't want to talk to him.
What do you mean he's waived his right? His mother just hired me this morning. I'm here to see him.
And I said, well, Counselor, what you are is confused. He has the right to an attorney, but you don't have a right to a client.
If you don't have any other clients in the building today, there's the door.
I think this is something I should discuss with my client before that decision is made.
After dismissing the attorney, Kenda and his team administer the polygraph.
You can go ahead and proceed.
All right, stick your arm back out.
During the course of the test, Maverick's behavior seems to betray a guilty conscience.
He seemed to be nervous.
Were you present when Chris Devoy was shot?
No.
He seemed to be very uneasy, obviously afraid about what's going on.
Did you shoot Chris Devoy?
No.
After analyzing the results, the findings are conclusive.
We got the results back. You failed miserably.
The examiner says this man shot your victim.
Our polygrapher said, well, if he didn't kill Chris Devoy, he must have killed somebody.
Everybody's elated, of course, among the detectives working the case, that old Brett here has failed the polygraph. We're all done. Let's throw this guy in jail and move on to something else.
But something doesn't sit right with Kenda. After years of looking into the eyes of cold-blooded killers, he knows a murderer when he sees one.
I don't like this at all. I don't like the fact that he's completely straightforward. I don't like the fact that he threw his lawyer out of the building. All of that says to me that Brett didn't do anything. His whole demeanor is correct for an innocent man.
And even though Brett has failed the polygraph and Patricia X's eyewitness account places him at the scene, Kenda relies on his gut and makes a controversial decision.
The machine says you killed Chris.
Brett, everybody in here wants to arrest you. Everybody but me. I'm gonna let you go. And I'm gonna do that because I believe you. Now, I wouldn't be planning any European vacations if I were you.
You're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
A stunned silence fills the room.
My men were not happy with me.
I think you're making a big mistake, Lieutenant.
They were frustrated and they were angry.
He turned down a lawyer. I talked to this guy face to face. I know killers. I don't think this guy's a killer.
They believed I was making a huge mistake.
There was some frustration, especially with Brett Maverick. He really looked like a good, promising suspect.
My response to them was that what they should do is study for their promotional exams. And someday, if they were lucky, they'd be in charge. But that's not today. I don't trust polygraphs. I don't trust machines that delve into the human mind. I trust eye-to-eye contact. I talk to this guy, and I believe him. Take him home.
Brett Maverick leaves the station a free man. And with him goes the case's only legitimate lead.
Back to the bar. We've gotten rid of Mr. Maverick here. We need a new player. Let's say that our eyewitness is wrong about the name and right about the ponytail.
Excuse me, miss.
Kenda takes a seat at the end of the bar and begins grilling the bartender for potential suspects.
Looking for a person with a ponytail. We've already talked to Brett Maverick. Is there anyone else that comes into the bar that matches that description?
Yeah, actually, his name's Mark Farlander.
Guy named Mark. What's his story? Kind of a strange guy. He comes in here quite a bit. He wears his hair in a ponytail. Was he there that night? Yeah, he was there. He left just a couple minutes before the victim did. Mark can be difficult. In other words, Mark is a jerk. When Mark drinks, he gets confrontive. He's drinking the night of the shooting. All that is interesting and makes him look pretty good.
Bartender told us that when he gets intoxicated, he's very mouthy.
Hey, Robin!
Mark was in a bad mood, in a foul humor, and just was angry all night long.
And according to the bartender,
What's going on?
at least some of Mark Farlander's anger was directed at Chris Devoy.
There was some confrontation between Mark and the bartender over a tab. Christopher stepped in. Said, hey, you owe the money, pay the money. It gets heated. Mark does the usual who the are you, and here we go.
This has to be our guy. So now we have to shift gears and maybe take a look at Mr. Farlander.
Okay. Let's go get Mark.
Have a seat.
Detectives track down the construction worker and question him about that night.
He does have a ponytail. He admits that he can be difficult sometimes.
Fights happen in bars all the time.
He doesn't like us, and he doesn't mind telling us that.
Didn't shoot
He doesn't like most of the people in the bar. He doesn't particularly like the victim, but he didn't shoot anybody.
You see, the problem I have is you have an altercation with this guy. A lot of people saw it. You leave the bar. 15, 20 minutes later, he gets shot in the parking lot.
I didn't do it.
Where'd you go?
Home.
Anybody there that can verify you were there?
Nope.
But despite his surly attitude and his flimsy alibi, Mark Farlander seems remarkably forthcoming.
He admits to how he gets when he drinks. He admits to how he can be. Then he can get confrontive, and has a flash temper, and he can say a lot of things.
Again, Kenda's instincts tell him this isn't their guy.
He convinces me, eye to eye, man to man, that he didn't shoot anybody. Doesn't have a gun, never had a gun. There's no criminal history. Is Mark a difficult personality? Yeah. Is he a killer? I don't think so.
You're free to go right now.
So Mark gets a get out of jail free card. Down the road he goes.
But after the suspect is released, the hospital calls with bad news.
Kenda.
You know that guy, Christopher Devoy? Yeah, he's dead.
Okay, what was the time of death?
Well, there were some complications, and he's passed away from his gunshot wound. So you erase attempted, and it just says murder.
You know, somebody's looking at the possibility of facing the rest of their life in prison for what they've done. So the stakes have definitely gone up now.
For 2 days, Kenda and his team have been searching for a gunman with a ponytail. But Kenda wonders if he's been relying too heavily on Patricia X's description.
Freeze! Are we working with bad information? Because I'm not getting any vibes from these people. My experience tells me eyewitnesses to traumatic events are unreliable. They are overwhelmed by their emotions. They are overwhelmed by fear. I think we're talking to the wrong people for the wrong reason. We're listening to the ponytail story, and we're not looking past it. Let's explore the crowd more. Let's find other people in here.
Kenda decides to make another trip to the crime scene, hoping to speak to patrons who were there the night of the shooting. What he learns
Hey, ladies, doing?
sends the case in an entirely new direction.
This is not what we all thought.
He threatened to kill people.
It's something totally different.
What did Christopher Devoy find himself involved in when he walked out of that bar? Was it something directed at him? Or was it something else entirely?
"29-year-old Chris Devoy has been gunned down in the parking lot of the Erin Inn. After holding on for more than 48 hours, Chris has passed away. Now it's up to Lieutenant Joe Kenda to find out who killed him and why.
Christopher Devoy, from all indication, is an innocent victim who's trying to do the right thing. He's going to take 2 women home because they've had too much to drink. And he's going to die for that? No. We need to find whoever did this.
After questioning and releasing the only real suspect, bar regular Brett Maverick, Kenda has returned to the Erin Inn in search of new leads.
Hey, ladies, doing?
In speaking with other patrons, he learns the bar isn't the friendly corner lounge it seems to be.
We learned that there is some narcotics trafficking that has occurred in the bar in the past. That's a whole nother door that's been opened up that you gotta start looking into, going, do we have a drug deal that went bad? Is Chris involved in drugs? Did he talk to a drug dealer?
The bar's owner claims they've worked hard to rid the place of the drug element, but one dealer has refused to go away.
Somebody finally tells us about Donnie, the drug dealer. Everybody knows he sells marijuana. Because of the R&N anti-drug policy, he politely conducts his business in the parking lot.
According to some patrons, Donnie was known to resort to violence in order to keep that business running smoothly.
What type of person is Donnie?
Just loud, obnoxious, and he threatened to kill people.
You've actually heard him threaten to shoot people before?
Yeah.
We find 4 different people
Where's my money? Get off me!
who see him in a heated argument
Donnie, that ain't cool, man. Where's my money?
late at night with a client
Hey, cool out.
shrieking at him that he's going to kill him and everybody he's ever known in his life unless he pays his drug debts.
Blow your head off!
Donnie the drug dealer certainly seems capable of murder, but by all accounts the victim, Chris Devoy, wasn't into drugs. So what was the connection between Chris and Donnie?
I like the image of Donnie, the fat-mouthed marijuana salesman, who's going to shoot everybody, who conducts his business late at night in the same parking lot where a victim is shot. Now, I also know that our victim doesn't use drugs. But what if he has some confrontation with Donnie about the fact that he's selling dope in the bar parking lot? Get me Donnie, our Pablo Escobar lookalike, and drag his ass in here.
Detectives track down Donnie Zilmer and bring him back to the station for questioning.
Donnie?
But when Kenda lays eyes on their new suspect,
Donnie Zilmer?
he stops short.
I'm looking at Donnie, and he could be Christopher Devoy's twin brother. I almost puke. What if we have mistaken identity? Donnie is an Donnie threatens everybody. Fear eventually leads to contempt. What if somebody decides to take Donnie out before he takes them out? Here comes a guy with 2 women, and our shooter who's waiting for him thinks there's Donnie now, because Donnie and Christopher could pass for twin brothers. Christopher gets in the car, the shooter approaches, shoots who he believes is Donnie in the neck, and runs off into the night. Our case has just gone 180 degrees.
Freeze!
Donnie begins in my mind as a suspect, and when I see him, he's a motive.
You're free to go.
But if Donnie was the killer's real target, then solving the case just got much more difficult.
If our shooter comes out of his clientele base, we have major trouble. We could be looking at 100 people that do business with this guy. How many customers does he have?
You gotta start looking into Donnie. You got to know everything there is to know about him. Who he's dealing drugs to, who's his enemies. That's gonna again open another huge door that you've got to explore.
This, in my view, is an awful set of circumstances. And I just go back in my office and sit down. This is gonna take forever. So I'm sitting in my office feeling exceptionally sorry for myself, thinking that this case has just gone down the drain, and my phone rings.
It's Kenda.
Oh my. We're looking to dig something up, and something just fell out of the sky.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his men are nearly 72 hours into their search for Chris Devoy's killer. But it seems that with every new development, the truth slips further and further away.
At this particular moment in this case, we have a dead body. We have a grieving girlfriend. We have grieving friends in the bar. And we got nothing. I don't feel as if we have a legitimate place to go.
There was just a lot of confusion going on, not a whole lot of hope.
But Kenda knows that in a murder investigation, hope can come in many forms. From eyewitness testimony, from ballistics, or even from a phone call.
My phone rings.
It's Kenda.
And it's the district attorney.
Got some info on that shooting.
Okay.
He says, I was just approached by a lawyer, and his client has knowledge of your crime at the Aaron Inn, and he is willing to provide at least one name. Oh my. We're looking to dig something up, and something just fell out of the sky. This lawyer gives us a name. He says the boy's name is Derek Marlowe.
The 20-year-old telemarketer is a longtime resident of Colorado Springs. Derek was also at a party recently, where he heard someone making alarming claims about the shooting at the Aaron Inn. Detectives head to Derek Marlowe's house to interview him.
So Derek, we were told you had some information for us.
Kenda quickly sizes him up.
He's just a guy who lives with his father. He's not an experienced criminal. He's not an experienced loyalist to other criminals. Introduce ourselves?
What happened at the party?
I understand you went to a party on the 29th. Well, yeah, I went to a party. And who was there? And he lays out a bunch of names.
It was all high school kids, you know, except him.
And there's this older guy there. Well, what do you mean by older? Well, he's 24 years old. And what's his name? James Shackelford.
Shot. Get over here, you're on my team.
According to Marlowe, Shackelford was new to the group. But as the only one of their friends over the age of 21, he quickly came to play a key role.
He was willing to buy alcohol, and when you're 18 and you can get alcohol from somebody and you're not looking for him every night, hey, he's your best friend.
But it turns out James Shackelford also has a checkered past.
He was a troublemaker. Kicked out of one home after another.
He was an ex-Marine that he'd been kicked out of the Marines because he punched his sergeant in the mouth. He would say stuff like, oh, let's go knock off a liquor store. Oh, I said I'm going to storm the police station and kill all the cops.
Mr. Bad Guy, Mr. Violence, Mr. Storm Police Stations and rob banks. Okay, is he like number 3 in Al-Qaeda? You know, who is this guy?
According to Derek Marlowe, most of the friends in their group thought Shackelford's threats were just idle trash talk.
James says we're going to go jack a car so that we don't have to walk anymore. And I was like, okay, sure, dude. I was like, why don't you get me a red one while you're at it?
Derek Marlowe tells Kenda he thought nothing more of the exchange, until he heard James Shackelford telling a far more chilling story.
Well, he's bragging at the party about how he shot a guy in the neck with a .44. Wow. He only has the right wound location. He's got the right caliber. I feel it in my bones. This is it. This is it.
Marlowe tells Kenda that James Shackelford even produced evidence to back up his claims.
I'll do it again. How about this?
Well, he had the gun. He was showing the gun to people.
He described your gun. It's a big magnum. Silver, like in the movies.
Great big gun, revolver. He said it was a .44 Magnum.
He was acting like, you know, I'm a really bad guy here. You know, don't mess with me. I've got a gun. I'm not afraid to use it.
I just remember him making that comment, I've already killed one person this week, and I won't mind killing another. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
Marlowe tells Kenda that to prove his point, Shackelford singled out a friend of theirs named Nate Morano.
Hey, shot someone else. Okay,
James announces in a loud voice to the crowd that if anybody tells the cops what I've done, this is what's going to happen.
I got a man and I'll shoot him
And
again.
he puts the gun to Nate's forehead, and he cocks the hammer.
Whoa, you don't think I'll pull the trigger?
And he pulls the trigger. But it goes click. Everybody screams. Nate runs out of the house.
Pansy ass, go cry to mama.
You tell me who else was at the party?
Derek Marlowe rattles off the names of the other party-goers, but focuses on one name in particular.
Kilowitz, Jeff Kilowitz.
According to Derek Marlowe, out of all the friends in their group, Jeffrey Kielwitz is especially close to James Shackelford.
Well, he runs with two other kids. One is Jeffrey Kielwitz. I know him. He's 18 years old. And he runs with this other kid who was there named Jeremy Kirby. And James is their bud, and all three of them are always together.
Kenda wonders if Jeffrey Kielwitz could have been there the night of the shooting. Derek Marlowe certainly seems to think so.
Well, he said Jeffrey was with him. Really? Yeah, they both of them together.
We appreciate it. This is very helpful.
Derek Marlowe's statement is eye-opening and breathes new life into the investigation. But Kenda and his men quickly discover that tracking down James Shackelford won't be easy.
James was actually bouncing all over the place.
James wanders around town. He's homeless.
With his prime suspect in the wind, Kenda settles for the next best thing: Shackelford's possible accomplice, Jeffrey Kielwitz.
Who is it?
Jeffrey Kilowitz?
Yeah?
Mind if we come in?
Sure.
We're talking to him. And he is evasive, and he is nervous, and he is frightened.
So you don't know James Shackelford?
No?
He doesn't know anybody named James. He wasn't at any party. He never saw a gun. He doesn't know.
We were at a party with him a couple nights ago. Remember that?
No.
So we start playing with him. Say, Jeffrey, maybe you think you're invisible. Maybe you think people can't see you.
He was waving a gun around.
But Derek Marlowe sees you.
But Jeffrey Kielwitz is sticking to his story.
We have a warrant to search the premises.
Hey, wait a minute.
So Kenda searches the house for evidence.
Is this your bedroom right here?
There's nothing in there, man.
It doesn't take long to hit pay dirt.
On his dresser are two live .44 Magnum shells. We open a dresser door and find a Taurus stainless steel 6-inch .44 Magnum revolver, black neoprene grips, unloaded.
It's not mine. It's not mine at all. I don't even know how that got in there.
Now, in full-on panic mode, Jeffrey Kielwitz puts his hand on the door and considers making a run for it.
What would happen if I ran right now?
So he looks at us with this frightened look in his face, and he says, "What happens if I run?"
You want to run, Jeffrey?
And we look at him and say, "Jeffrey, that would be the greatest mistake of your short life. You know we know. There's a woman in that car, Jeffrey. She saw you, and you saw her."
What you need to do is have a seat and tell us what really happened.
Caught red-handed, Jeffrey Kielwitz lays out just how the murder of Chris Devoy came to pass.
James was the one that shot him.
Apparently, it all stemmed from his pal James Shackelford's dire financial straits.
Jeffrey says, James starts telling these kids that he needs money. He's been breaking into Ramada Inns and spending the night. He has no money, he has no future, he has no home. He needs cash. He tells him he knows a guy in Pueblo that's gonna buy a car from him. It's a chop shop. And he'll pay $1,000 for a nice car.
There's only one problem with the plan. James Shackelford doesn't have a car to sell, so he decides to steal one and enlist Jeffrey as his partner in crime.
We're not gonna do anything, man. We were just gonna take their car.
What happened?
So they go out shopping. It's midnight. They see several cars. They don't like any of them. They walk over to the Aaron Inn. They see a Mitsubishi Eclipse. They like it.
I think that's them. That's them right there.
They're standing in the parking lot looking at it when the doors of the bar open and a man and two women come giggling out of the bar. They walk directly to that car and they get in. James turns and says, "Let's rob them."
Man up, come on.
According to Kielwitz, while trying to rob the trio, Shackelford panicked and shot Chris Devoy.
They run up to the car. James produces his gun and yells, "Freeze!"
Freeze!
The next thing he hears is a gunshot.
Kenda is stunned. It appears the murder of Chris Devoy was committed at random.
Random crimes are the most difficult to solve because there's no connection to the victim and there ultimately is no motive. I used to tell my guys, don't worry about the bullet that has your name on it. Be worried about the one that says to whom it may concern.
But Jeffrey Kielwitz has one more confession to make. A confession that calls into question everything Kenda and his team thought they knew about this case.
It's an amazing turn of events. And it illustrates why this case is so disturbing.
Through the confession of accomplice Jeffrey Kielwitz, Lieutenant Joe Kenda has discovered that the murder of 29-year-old Chris Devoy was an apparent random act of violence.
Freeze!
And the architect of the crime was an ex-Marine by the name of James Shackelford.
Chris was just leaving the bar to take two girls home, and to see him just get in the car to try to leave and then is shot and dies as a result of that, just very sad, very tragic.
But as Kenda listens to this confession, he senses that Jeffrey Kielwitz isn't being entirely forthcoming.
You better start talking right now. We know you didn't pull the trigger, but you better start telling us exactly what happened.
So we're talking to Jeffrey Kielwitz. Has he been truthful? Probably not completely. I'm sitting there looking at him and I said, "So, anybody with you besides James?"
The question catches Jeffrey off guard, and he does his best to dodge it.
Don't ask me what I mean, Jeffrey. It's a simple question. Was it you and James? Or you and James and somebody else?
Who was there?
What was me and James and Jeremy Kirby?
Jeremy Kirby was there.
Yeah.
Though Kenda is surprised to learn of a third perpetrator, he knows from his interview with Derek Marlowe that Jeremy Kirby is also one of James Shackelford's closest friends.
He says he was behind James, and I was standing at the front of the car. Draw me a map. He draws a rectangle. He said, "That's the car. I was standing right here. James was at the door, and Jeremy was right behind him." He's at the door.
Go! Go!
But the witnesses don't say it.
Let's go.
Kenda books Jeffrey Kielwitz and tasks his men with tracking down Jeremy Kirby. It doesn't take long to find him. Jeremy is arrested at a fast food restaurant where he's applying for a job.
Put your feet on a molding and push yourself back.
But even though Kirby is in police custody, Kenda is denied a face-to-face meeting with him.
He is a juvenile. His parents declined to speak and hire the kid a lawyer. We don't get a statement.
So Kenda and his team focus on finding James Shackelford.
The word in the street is that if he gets in trouble, he goes to his aunt's house in Lakewood, Colorado. We have a phone number and no address. We call the security division of the phone company. Where is this phone? They provide the address. We get an arrest warrant for Shackelford for first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit, and we'd go to liquid.
Detectives arrive at the home of James Shackelford's aunt. Guns drawn, they enter the house.
Got a warrant for James Shackelford.
What are you doing?
Lay down, on your face. Lay down. Hands on your head.
He says, "What are you doing?" I didn't do anything. You're wrong about that, James. Yeah, he did. We cuff him and take him out to a police car.
James, what did you do?
When we're standing on his tail, all he can do is cry and lie. Not exactly Mr. Bad Guy.
He gave up immediately. He didn't even put up a fight.
Back at the station, Shackelford is sent to booking.
We arrest James and throw him in jail for first-degree murder.
Jeffrey Kielwitz and Jeremy Kirby are also charged with murder. At trial, both are convicted, and the combined sentences total more than 50 years behind bars. But to the surprise of many, the ringleader of the murder gets off with the lightest sentence.
He went to prison for 16 years. The two kids who were way lesser involved got hit with huge prison sentences, and Shackelford never even got convicted of murder.
To this day, Chris Devoy's parents still mourn the loss of their son.
Changes your life. You know, things aren't quite so happy-go-lucky anymore.
Thankfully, Chris's memory lives on through his children, Jordan and Carissa.
There's times when my mouth is dropped open when Jordan is turned around. And it's like looking at Chris. I can't bring him back. So I have to remember the good times.
As for the community, the random nature of the crime has had a lasting effect.
No one knows what the future holds. No one knows what the next 2 minutes holds. People don't like to think about that because it's frightening. What's Christopher doing? Engaging in an act of kindness. 3 people wandering around in the dark somehow find him. People find that to be terrifying.
Freeze!
They don't like to dwell on that. I don't either.